It is May 6th, 2025, and I have finished up to season 6, episode 9 of Shameless. And oh, that's so sad. And it explains a lot of what Fiona does and has been doing. I'm just like, oh, girly, why? This girl got proposed to at her own divorce proceedings with Steve Kazee, and she accepted the proposal in front of everybody in the litigating room and all of that. And I'm just like, girly, what is you doing? Like, I don't really like Sean just because I'm partial to Steve Kazee, and I actually feel like if she had stuck it out with Gus, they actually could have had a, if initially chaotic, they could have mellowed out into something a little bit more copacetic. But she didn't do that because she's falling into the patterns that she falls into. And I'm just like, at some point, Sean is going to show his ass again. And I'm just like, oh my God, Fiona, why? I will say, though, I'm very proud of her for sticking to her guns, getting that abortion that she wanted, and doing as well as she has in her job that's separate from her relationship with Sean. Like, good for you. Stay winning. On the saddest note of this show so far, Carl is on the straight and narrow, but like for the worst reason. He had this older buddy, Nick, when he got out. He was like this big black dude who's very quiet, and all this guy wanted was a bike that was similar enough to the bike that he had when he was growing up that his dad sold for drugs, and that's why he set his dad on fire or some shit. And Carl's just like, yo, let's get a car. Let's pick up some honeys, like shit like that. And Nick's like, no, I want my bike. So they get this bike, and then the bike gets stolen. And Carl's like, it's okay. It's just a bike. We're cool. Let's actually go and get that car. Meanwhile, Carl can't drive, so he's relying on Nick to drive him everywhere. And Carl's like, look at this cool car. And Nick is just like, I want my bike. I want my fucking bike. So then they're driving Debbie somewhere, and Debbie very pregnant at this point. And then Nick sees out of the corner of his eye, like, some kid with his bike who's just like riding down the street, happy as can be. And he careens after that kid. And Carl's just like, what are you doing? What are you doing, Nick? What are you doing? So Carl at this point is already on like very high alert. So Sheila is throwing Debbie a baby shower because no one was going to be throwing Debbie a baby shower because nobody thinks this is a good idea what Debbie is doing. And Carl looks around the room and Nick is missing. And Carl's just immediately like, sorry, Debbie, I gotta go. And he runs after Nick. And I don't know if he got on a bike, but he ran over there. I remember this now. He ran over there. But he's too late. And Nick is sitting outside with a bloody hammer, and the mom of the kid inside is just screaming and screaming and screaming. And Nick is just very, very quiet, very, very like demure. That's not the word I'm looking for, but he's just very flat affect, and he just looks at Carl and he's just like, I already called the cops so they can come get me. Like, you need to get out of here. And Carl is just fucked up about this, and he runs away, and it's just like, you could tell that like he was about that life, but he's not a killer, and this is just far beyond what he's willing to deal with. So then he goes to Fiona and Sean's house because there's an issue with the house, and it takes a little bit for them to get back into the house. It's actually Carl's it's Carl's money from like his drug running days and his like gangbanging days that allow Fiona to buy the house back. But Carl shows up and he's just like, I know I was kind of a dick to y'all and I wasn't really dealing with things very well, but I can't live like this anymore. Can I stay with you? And everyone's like, hell yeah, like straight and narrow, Carl, come on in. But then there's this problem where Carl doesn't remember to get rid of all of his guns, and then Sean's son gets his hands on one, and it nearly comes to blows with Fiona and Sean. But then Sean decides to propose to her anyway, and I'm just like, dude, what is you doing? Mickey has been missing for some time. Ian is dating this fireman from while he studies to be an EMT, which he's not Mickey, but I'll deal. Other than that, though, Ian is on his meds. He seems relatively copacetic. Like, I'm not mad at Ian's development right now. Lip, though? Sir, get your act together. So he ends up blowing everything up with the collegiate girl that he was dating because he is banging his professor. That predictably blows up in everybody's face. Lip ends up taking like what he thinks is a very innocuous photo of his professor in his dorm room. And his dorm room is very recognizable because the collegiate girl painted this like giant mural on his wall, which is the reason why he has to move back home, because they weren't actually allowed to do that. But when the collegiate girl, Amanda, she is inevitably dumped because Lip is so fixated on the professor. She ends up kind of conning her way into Lip's room and getting on his phone because she remembers his password, and she finds this picture and she sends it everywhere. Then there's this big disciplinary hearing, and then the professor has to like completely break up with Lip. Lip is just completely spiraling because he loves her, blah blah blah. And then he ends up like really making friends with a professor that is mentoring him, and he's TAing his classes, who coincidentally has a drinking problem. And now Lip is developing what looks like a very nasty drinking problem. Like he is getting blackout drunk to the point where the co-eds in the sorority that he is the houseboy for, they are, calling ambulances to come and pick him up. And he's mad about it. He's like, bro, I was fine. And the girl just looks at him like, dude, like you really would have died. It's just a very sad situation because I feel like Lip is one of those people where it's just like, he gets a lot of shit handed to him because he's so smart and he's so charming, but then it just slips through his fingers, and I'm just like, bro, he's sometimes more infuriating than Fiona is. Like, I get it, Fiona didn't have a Fiona to raise her, but Lip did. Like, and Fiona generally has enough of a good head on her shoulders to like be able to tell her siblings like, all right, like, what is you doing? Like, get your shit together. But I'm very worried about Lip at the moment. I just don't think he's going to do well with the way that he is sliding into alcohol abuse and things like that. Pregnant Debbie remains pregnant. She is keeping this baby. Girly, what is you doing? She ends up working as a nanny for this couple who the wife is dying of cancer. She goes into remission, and she's home now. Like that was like a weird blip, and now it's over. I don't know, man. This show remains stressful, really stressful. So I'm very close to the end of the season. It looks like Debbie's going to have her baby soon. And I'm hoping that nobody else's lives blow up in the next 2 episodes. Just saying.